Cole Manning with Culmination Media.
That's me.
That's you. So I watched a video you had on your YouTube channel. I think you came out with it like a week ago or something. You were talking about 2024, right? And you mentioned that you went full-time filmmaking through your business last year.
Yes, I did. So I was working at a full-time video job actually on is an army base called Fort Moore down here near Columbus. And I was actually filming some pretty crazy stuff. Like I was in helicopters and filming like soldiers and live shooting and all that stuff. So it trained me very well to shoot B-roll, like run and gun B-roll really well. And I was pretty much just side hustling the whole time. Like I got the A7S III about 3 years ago, and I've been kind of passively shooting stuff. And I'd say about a year or two ago, it started picking up. Like clients were seeing my work on Instagram and stuff like that. And then I started getting some freelance stuff here and there. And then I was randomly filming something one day, and then a client I didn't know was going to be my client. He just saw me filming and was like, "Can you film this?" And it was like a free thing. So I was like, "Oh man, whatever." But it was for a school, like a college. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. Cause if I could land a college as a client, that would be big.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did the job. And then he was saying that he was going to pay me. I did not get paid. I was I was a little triggered. I was like,
it's so frustrating when that happens, man.
Yeah, man.
Like that's honestly like some of the most frustrating crap anybody can do. Like
it really is. Yeah.
It's messed up, man. Like, especially people that have like high expectations. And so they're like, oh, I got a videographer now. I want to, they're real excited. They try to get some vision casted onto you. You get it the best you can, right? To someone who's probably an experienced director, right? And then they just don't follow through with the payment, man. That's frustrating. That happened to me one time. It came close. I did get a little money out of them, but it was a struggle with like a realtor that I worked with.
Oh yeah, realtors. Oh man, I've worked with a few of them, and they're just like the shadiest people, or they just cannot stick to plans. Like I'll be like, let's meet up and discuss something, and they always ghost me. I'm like, all right, man, you wanted a video, and then you just ghost me.
Yeah.
But
so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one, your business, your vision for that, like what are your goals, but also like I'm super fascinated by your YouTube channel, because one thing that I've been thinking about a lot, and you starting this new channel saying, okay, I'm running a production business. I'm doing a freelance videography. You're a freelance filmmaker. And so getting into the YouTube space is a very specific choice for filmmakers, right? There's a lot of filmmakers that don't even want to touch YouTube at this point because of, I feel like in the early days of YouTube, like in 2009, it was like the only people on YouTube were like people who liked memes and filmmakers, because filmmakers were making the video stuff already, Yeah,
the tutorials.
Yeah. So they're like, I want to put my stuff out there. And so it's like YouTube, in my mind, started with people who had ambitions to be filmmakers or were already filmmakers, right?
True.
And so now with the culture of YouTube, it's shifted. And sometimes I feel like filmmakers feel like there's no longer a place on the platform for them. So I'm curious as to you starting this and have a discussion with you about that. I think that's
got you.
That's cool. And moving into 2025, I think that's a cool podcast to have. So, but Culmination Media. So what got you into filmmaking at first, like right off the bat? How old were you? What's that story?
I think I was about 21. So let's see. No, it might have been earlier than that, like 19 or 20. I'm 26 now, but I got into it when I was in college because I didn't know what I wanted to do for my major. And then I was like, let me try this, like this media major. And then they had a video class, and I had a professor that I really liked, and he made us make a documentary. And that's where I like instantly fell in love. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Like I was like interviewing people,
Yeah.
hearing their stories, and I was immediately like, oh, this is great. And I loved editing and shooting and really just all of it. And I just kind of kept doing it. And I was like, oh, I could do this as a job. Like it was like more and more popular. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this because this is what I like, because I don't want to be like a business major or whatever I was before. That would have been lame. I would have been like depressed accountant or something. I don't know. It wouldn't have been like good.
You had a creative thing in your head, probably, or at least visually creative.
Yeah.
But you also liked business, which makes sense why you go more to the entrepreneurial style of videography business, like freelancing and everything. So that's really neat. Was there ever, or has there ever been ambitions to be like filmmaking on narrative scales, feature films? Is there been anything in your head about that kind of thing? You know?
So I'm one of those weird people where I'm not super into narrative. Like I'm drawn to like music videos and just like very like high energy editing and stuff. I still like movies and narrative, but I have been on some narrative film sets, and it's just like, it's so like long hours. And I mean, maybe I just wasn't in the right role. Like if I directed my own like short film or something.
No, you had it right.
Maybe it's just not for me. But my buddy that I work with, he is like obsessed with narrative, and that's all he wants to do. And we just did like a few short films, and it was just such a grind, like just 12 hours a day. Like, oh man. And it just takes up so much time. And I just don't like being on a film set like all day. So I'm just like, it's just not for me. I more prefer business stuff. And
what about like
creative
documentary stuff, you know? Like
I'm more interested in that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I would do that. Like if I could find like some cool people, I definitely, like right now I have an idea. I'll go ahead and say it, I guess, spoil it. But I want to do one about like, you know, like just everyone on their phones and like the whole, like, I mean, it's kind of already been done. There's something on Netflix, I think similar to that, like algorithms and all that. But I kind of want to do it of like how it's affecting the upcoming generations, like phones and all these things. And it'd be super cool to like interview some people at big tech companies and be like, what is going on with the algorithm? And like, do you guys think this is affecting young people's brains and like all this stuff you're doing for all that? Like, do you guys actually know, or are you just trying to make as much money as you can, or just like something like that? It'd be a cool documentary I'd like to explore maybe.
Yeah, dive into. So getting into the YouTube space, do you see YouTube as kind of like the primary distribution for your work, or what are your thoughts there? Right,
it could be. So right now I just do work for clients, and just I'm like sending it to them, and then they're like distributing it like however. But I might do that. Yeah. Like if I start making some bigger projects, like I'll probably post it on YouTube for sure.
I think there's an element of YouTube that looking at it. So in the next 5 to 10 years, so I'm really nerdy about YouTube. So to help you get to know me a little bit, super into narrative filmmaking.
Oh yeah.
That's my thing, man. However, I have been in freelance game. I currently work at a company that does like mini documentary stories.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I traveled all over the US for like 3.5 years shooting that stuff and then editing it. And then I moved to a remotes position, moved to Georgia. Because it's in another state. So I still work for them remotely, but I moved to the marketing of YouTube side for like their content, right? So I balance marketing their content and creating my own content. The reason I did that is because I've been in production for well over 12 years in editing and video and creating my own short films, been a part of other people's stuff. And I just kind of feel like I need to understand marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like that's one of the most important things, honestly.
Looking at the next 5 to 10 years on YouTube, there's only projections of bigger and better, right? On
It
this
seems that way.
particular
I heard they're going to
platform.
be letting people do their own like series and stuff, like
Yeah.
creators. I don't know if that's real or where I
I,
saw that.
I heard the same thing, dude. I heard that
Okay.
like the way that Netflix is set up to do like series where it
Yeah.
doesn't come up as like a video for you to watch, but rather it's being promoted as like a series. I
That would
mean,
be awesome.
it's similar to what they did with podcasts. Like
Mm-hmm.
video podcasts when they made the shift to say, hey, if people want to listen or watch video podcasts over on our YouTube Music app, right?
Mm-hmm.
They decided to allow you to set up a playlist and label it as a podcast. And if you label it as a podcast, then it gets sent over to their YouTube Music app. So people
Okay.
can, like when a podcast, some people watch, some people just listen. So if it's a video podcast, there's a value in being able to turn your phone off and it not shut off, right?
Oh yeah.
If it's video. So
For sure.
so YouTube Music app allows you to do that, right? If it's labeled as a podcast. So
I have not even used that. I did not know.
yeah.
Thing.
So there's
YouTube
a lot
Music.
of really cool features. So the whole series thing, it's like the idea of a playlist has always been there, but for YouTube to start shifting its marketing tools at the algorithm to be like, hey, we want to start, I guess, incentivizing creators to make high quality series related high value content, right?
That would be really good.
And that's very intriguing to creators
That
for
is.
sure. Also, I've noticed like, because you're not monetized yet, have you been
Not
able
yet.
to look at the back end of any kind of YouTube channel to like AdSense or anything? Have you been able to be a part of that?
Yeah, I've seen how it works. Yeah, it's just like Google pays you, and then I've done like a lot of research, and a lot of people say that most of their income isn't from Google AdSense. It's mainly like affiliate links and which I set up affiliate links already.
Merch, Patreon.
Yeah, merch and Patreon and
oh man, there's so many different options.
yeah.
Courses that people sell, right?
Yeah, I've been thinking about looking into making some courses, but I'm still deciding.
Valuable. It's valuable. Here's I think that there's a lot of options with YouTube. So around the YouTube AdSense model, I have noticed an uptick in ad sharing revenue on YouTube, right?
Okay.
I feel as though I make more than I used to be honest.
You might.
It's not a crazy amount. It's not a crazy amount, but I feel like I do make more than I used to.
That's good.
And with that, it makes it seem like YouTube is pivoting to prioritize creators in some way to be able to even more legitimize this field of work, right?
Oh yeah.
So with all of that, with monetization options on YouTube, both in YouTube and off YouTube, but marketing through YouTube, what are your goals for your channel? Like as a filmmaker, freelancer, getting into YouTube, what are your thoughts, getting started?
Yeah, that is a great question. So I mainly just want to, I guess, help people like learn stuff and then also just make money. It's really just two goals. It's like help people learn and then make money. And also it's just fun for me as well to just make videos about filmmaking stuff, because I'm just one of those people that I love creating stuff and I'm always trying to make videos, and YouTube just gives me the outlet to just create a bunch of videos and kind of just do whatever I want. Like if I want to go hard and make like some David Fincher production, like I could, or I can just pull out my phone and do something. So I'm really just having fun with it, and I'm trying to figure out like my niche, like what I want to do, because I see a lot of people on YouTube, especially in the filmmaking space, and they're very gear oriented. Their whole channel is tied down to gear, and I'm trying to avoid being like that.
Yeah.
Like I haven't really made a gear video yet, and I'm kind of scared to, because as soon as I do, it'll probably get more views than anything, and then that's like all I want to do or something.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to just make videos that like people relate to, like other filmmakers, or like help up and coming filmmakers, like just relate to them when they're struggling and they're like, how do I make this work? Like, how does the film industry work? Because it really is crazy. Like, the more and more I learn, I'm like, this is just so weird. Like, I'm always learning more. Like, it's all based in the cities and it's very freelance and there's not a lot of full-time jobs doing it. And it's so confusing when you come out of college and you're trying to get it, make money doing it. So I'm just trying to help like bridge that gap, I guess, on my channel, really.
That's super valuable. So you're looking to create a environment where people get to know you, can trust you, and learn from your own experience getting into filmmaking, basically.
Yep, pretty much.
And bridging the gap for beginning filmmakers. So if you think about it on some level, your niche is where you are at currently. Do you think that your content would mature as you also mature in a lot of ways, like getting more advanced, you know?
Yeah, as I improve, it'll probably change. Yeah, like as I level up, I guess, in filmmaking, like up in Atlanta or whatever, and if I start meeting a bunch of people and doing stuff, I really want to do music videos. That's actually my next thing that I want to.
There's a lot of rappers in Atlanta.
I'm trying to avoid the rappers, honestly.
It's gonna be hard in Atlanta, dog.
You're right. I'm trying to get on the metal bands and the rock bands. That's what I'm going for.
That is pretty exciting. Yeah. I'm sure do you know there's a scene already for that in Atlanta?
Oh, there is, yeah.
Are you connected? Like, do you have people that you know?
A little bit. Like I have there's a few guys on Instagram that are up in Atlanta and I've been talking to them a little bit, and yeah, they're DPs up in Atlanta and they shoot metal rock music videos all the time. And so they're kind of my inspiration. Like, okay, it's possible. Yeah. I just need to meet these guys and just get in there. So
yeah, nice. I think with YouTube, like in order for people to continue to be interested in what you have to say, like if you're going educational, right? You have to be constantly involved with it. And on some level, there's an area, like in the film industry, there's a lot of like NDAs you have to sign, right? If you're on like a major Hollywood set,
then you're not filming BTS.
You can't exactly. Like, you can't film anything to build your personal influence in the field of filmmaking, because you can't show or prove to anybody that you did it, because you literally can't talk about it. You know what I mean?
It's very true.
And so on some level, like owning your own business positions you in a really good place to be able to have tons of content to show the work that you're working on, right? Do you enjoy Peter McKinnon? I'm guessing.
I do. Yeah. I like Peter McKinnon. He's just like cool dude. And he just, he just talks, and I'm like, that's cool. He's just a cool guy, and he's not just overly gear man or whatever. He's just like, I don't even know. All his videos are really different. Like,
well, this is what I think about Peter McKinnon is I think he is, authentically an artist.
He is an artist.
He comes across that way because he is so all over the place. Like you know what he likes.
You just don't know what he's doing.
Honestly, like when it comes to YouTube, and he's a bit of an anomaly when it comes to YouTube success, in my opinion, because when you look at his content, there's educational content, there's life vlogging, there's four-wheelers, there's hats, there's pirate medallions, there's coffee, there's magician stuff there's hiking, there's photography, there's videography, there's this whole range of niches. And really when it comes down to it is people just show up for Peter, right?
Yeah, exactly. His personal brand. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think, have you heard of like Think Media?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, like, at least from what they talk about and other educators on the YouTube space, that's not necessarily a formula that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you have to be like
Niche down.
You have to niche down.
For sure.
And then when your channel starts to blossom, you can niche out a little bit, right? Or niche up. But there's it's interesting when you see a true artist who's just like, I got these things that I really like. And I'm going to showcase them, and I'm going to showcase me. And I'm a freelance videographer / photographer / I just want to have fun, and I just want to do stuff that really excites me. And that worked for him, right?
Sure did.
And it's a weird kind of, what are your thoughts, you know, going into that when you see people like Peter McKinnon? I don't know who else you enjoy or you watch, or you kind of like
I watch a lot of people. Yeah. I could pull up my YouTube and just I could name them, but yeah, Peter McKinnon is he's a cool dude, and I think he is a bit of an anomaly, like you said, because I don't think most people are going to be able to do that, like just be all over the place like that. I feel like he's just been in the YouTube game so long that he's just like, I think he did start kind of niche down, like doing tutorials and things like that, like a long time ago. I didn't really watch him then, but I think over time he just got so big that he was able to kind of just do whatever he wants and just make whatever, and people just watch it for him. And I don't think nowadays you could start a YouTube channel like that. I mean, maybe you could.
You absolutely could. But the thing is, I don't think it has anything to do with strategy. I think it has everything to do with, what are you involved in? Like, does your life seem interesting to people? You know what I mean? Like, Peter had...
his life is interesting.
Peter had a weird mix of life and interest.
He does.
He's like, he's a magician. He has all these tattoos. He's a family man. He really loves four-wheelers and cameras.
He travels all over the place,
Ford trucks. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, he travels all over the place. He's taking crazy photography. And so him just doing naturally what he liked.
It just worked for him.
And he was interesting while doing it. I think his niche, if you will, is he is too enthusiastic about what he does, and that is contagious.
Yeah. You know, it is. I mean? You're like, man, I need to be like Peter McKinnon. I'm going to just get a bunch of tattoos and just start taking photos of coffee and, you know.
Yeah. You have
for sure.
I think there's almost like a niche that doesn't make sense, and it's hard to define. That's just like a person who's so excited and outgoing to be able to be contagious with that excitement. I think there's a level of that. Like, do you know the creator? He hasn't been creating in a while, but have you ever heard of Olin Rogers?
I don't think, maybe. I don't think so.
Okay. He's a guy who was really popular on YouTube years ago. And he went on to go into Hollywood, and he created the animated show, Final Space. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
That's all right. He sold a show to TBS. He did 3 seasons of it. Now he's coming back to YouTube and doing like this indie stuff. But he he had ambitions to be a filmmaker, and he's done some ambitious stuff on YouTube, like in like 2010, right? I mean, and he did some really awesome stuff. And he's still doing some really cool stuff, but he's less on YouTube. But he is the kind of person that's like, I have these interests, but people weren't there because of his interests. People weren't there because he was doing filmmaking tutorials or animation tutorials. He was
providing value. That's why they were.
Well, he was telling people stories about how he pretended to be a ghost in the Target bathroom. And people, he was so excited and just such really a personality that it blew him up. Like, yeah, he's a really charismatic person, but there's like a few people that just have the charisma on YouTube.
They do.
That I don't think is like super common to be able to succeed.
It really isn't. You know? I definitely don't think I have that. I
don't think I have it either.
I feel like I'm good at creating cool videos, but like as far as being the talking head that's like yeah, like on the camera. I'm like, that's just not me. Like I've tried the classic influencer reels where you're like,
Right.
yeah, guys, what's up? Let's learn about what aperture is. And I just cannot, bro. I hate it. Like I can do it and then I start editing myself and I'm like, nah, I'm never doing this again.
Right.
It's like cringe to me.
Yeah, it
But some
is.
people
It's
just have
difficult.
it. It's like, man, they got it. Like, I don't know what about you? Like, what do you think about, like, are you good at it?
I would say I am enthusiastic about stuff that I'm passionate about. I just
Yeah.
don't know if the stuff I'm enthusiastic enough is interesting to people. So like for
Yeah.
me, this channel, this podcast is going out on, this channel's niche, right? Wiseworks
Mm-hmm.
Studio is dedicated. It was more like film reviews, film reactions for a while. It's been shifting and it's doing a hard shift currently because this is where I want to live. Is
Yeah.
I want it to be a place where people can learn filmmaking through stories. People can learn
Okay.
filmmaking through lessons, through movie news. Seeing a movie or seeing something that a filmmaker's doing or listening to an interview that a filmmaker gave, right? Or someone that is in the film space, and we can learn lessons from it, right? We can learn filmmaking through observing people's stories or films or
Yeah.
and so it's not so much like I'm not the biggest. I just did a video the other day about this and it was just because I wanted to try something, but I'm not the biggest person who's excited to like sit down and explain a concept. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I really
I
what I
got
want to
you.
do is I want to light the fire of someone who's passionate about filmmaking. I want to light the fire
Okay.
of their on their tail, right? That
Mm-hmm.
it just resonates with them. And I think personally, I think people get that through stories and people get that through concepts that someone can communicate in a motivational way, in an exciting way. And
For
that's
sure.
what I get excited about. Because like concepts are all over the place on YouTube. Like you can
Oh,
find a
yeah.
filmmaking concept anywhere. So it's really hard now on YouTube to like find what is the niche that is like trying to be unique
Mm-hmm.
and authentic to you and turn that key. How has
It
that
is
process
hard.
been with the 18 videos you have on this channel? How has that process been looking for that niche for you?
It's been pretty difficult. So it's kind of when you're starting out, you're kind of just throwing stuff at a wall to see, and like I've wanted to keep it just like the navigating the filmmaking space and kind of being relatable and stuff like that, and just being authentic and not putting on the YouTuber voice, like what up,
Yeah.
guys? Like I've been trying not to do that. I still kind
Yeah.
of do it a little bit. But yeah, it's been difficult finding it because part of me is just like, man, I want to make that gear video or I want to make that tutorial. And I've been thinking like, cause I have a few on the chopping block, like on a list, like, all right, like a color grading thing
Mhm.
or like editing tutorials or like, lighting something.
Yeah.
But then I just don't know what to do. Like I might make one of those and just see how they do. But
Yeah.
it's like, I'm just one of those people who I'm like, I don't want to be doing videos like the behind the scenes on a film set. Like, I don't want to do that, like personally.
Yeah.
Like I feel like so many filmmaking channels just do that,
Yeah.
like, oh, behind the scenes it's just like, oh my God, I'm so tired of it. So like, I don't want to do that. I want to be like different and just be authentic. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. I
Do
think I'm
you
going to stick
lean
with that.
vlog or do you lean talking head? I see a lot of stuff that's like a little bit more talking head,
Probably
but
talking head
yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Is it
Yeah,
because it's
and
comfortable or is it just because like it just makes sense? You know what I mean? Like
it
what's
just
there?
like I think it's like both. Like I just being a vlogger, I've never I just wouldn't know what to do. Like you just like get the camera and just start filming everything. Like I'm waking up and
Right.
like I feel like I have value in like helping people navigate filmmaking, but I feel like my life isn't like super interesting. Like I'm Peter
Mm.
McKinnon. Like, yeah, guys, today we're climbing the mountain and we're gonna take the photos, and then we're getting on this plane, and like I'm not doing that. I'm like
Right.
waking up and you know editing something for like a few hours at the coffee shop and like going for a walk. And that's like every day basically. So,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe having a shoot somewhere. Like the other day I had a shoot on a set and it was cool, but yeah, it's like not all the time that it's like that. So
you
man.
feel like, are you trying to follow the formula of lay out ideas, like as you're finding your niche, as you're feeling it out, lay out your ideas, and then maybe like 5 or 10 videos, and then assess what you enjoyed the most / what the audience responded to? Is that kind of what your process is currently?
That is my process. Yeah. I couldn't say that, but you nailed it for me. So I have a list over there on a board, and I just have like 20, 30 video ideas that I'm probably going to make at some point. And they're all like slightly in different niches. Like a couple of them are gear related. Like I'm going to just test that out and just say like, do I like making the gear video, or is it like super cringe talking about how much dynamic range the A7S III has or something? I'm just like, so I'll try that out, and then I'll try out a couple tutorials, because I do like teaching people.
Yeah.
Like when I'm showing people stuff in person, it's really satisfying to just like help them like learn something new and get a skill. But like online, it's kind of weird because you're like recording yourself and there's no one there. And then you're just like editing yourself again. You're like, oh man, let me hear myself talk. And then you see people in the comments, but it's like not the same as like someone right there and you like show them something. So yeah, I got to see the tutorials.
So you're leaning, are you leaning more, or I'm guessing you're still testing like search based content versus like homepage recommendation interest content. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I have not delved that deep into that. Yeah. So what is the difference there?
Okay, so the difference, and this is actually really, really valuable, I think.
Okay.
And it's not mine. I learn everything from other people.
Yeah.
You really should. So like YouTube is basically broken up into 2 types of content, right? There's a lot of niches, but almost every niche can kind of fit into one of these 2, and you have to kind of choose which one you're doing, because it grows a specific audience / you have different results. And so it affects your marketing strategy, right? So for earning potential, you have entertainment and you have learning. All right.
Okay.
However, you have someone like Peter McKinnon, who did learning to get recognized, but he shifted to entertainment because it was better for him. People liked him once they found him. But with videos being recommended more and more, especially new channels on the homepage, it's more possible for people to start with entertainment, right? So basically,
it's true.
The how you approach marketing a video. If you've defined, I'm going to be in the entertainment realm or I'm going to be in the learning realm. If you're learning, then you prioritize like search, right? And you prioritize the evergreen life of the video over the course of the next 5 years. Whereas with entertainment, you are prioritized by the homepage. So that means you're never going to if you have an entertainment video, it's very unlikely your topic is going to be enjoyed by people who's searching for a question or a solution to their problem.
True.
So that means
not as long term.
You're also trying to attract people who watch YouTube for entertainment rather than for learning. Now, people do both, but you have different behaviors based on what you're trying to get done. So for me, I have opted into entertainment specifically for the fact that I lean into the newsy side of things when it comes to filmmaking, right?
Yeah. I was like looking into it. You do a lot of the like movies and like
so like
media
when
and
Quentin
stuff.
Tarantino was on Rogan's podcast.
I watched that one. Yeah, that was a good one.
I listen to Rogan probably maybe every other episode. But that was super valuable because I'm like, this guy's talking about his experience getting into filmmaking.
Oh, he was. I was like, this is really good.
This is as valuable as it gets. Like any filmmaker can listen to this and they're gonna relate with it. They're going to really feel it. And I was like, let me let me squeeze myself in here and try to associate myself with their personality, right?
That's kind of where I like, that was a good example, is that video that you did, like how he was talking about that. That's kind of like what I want my channel to be. Like just kind of relatable and helping people learn like that. So I guess it's still like entertainment, or is it learning?
It's entertainment. Unless you, and I mean, you could do the exact same thing and just prioritize search titles and just be aware that like searching titles are supposed to live for a long time. So I capitalize on Quentin Tarantino being on Rogan's podcast because he just did it, and it is popular in YouTube right now, right?
Yeah.
So if people are looking for how to meet people in the film industry, well, Quentin Tarantino talks about that, but they're less likely to whereas that you're going to have to craft a title. Like I think someone who's an expert would be someone who's looking for that type of information would rather be like, here's a formula, like a step-by-step process to follow, as opposed to a theoretical story that you can try to take principles to apply to yourself. Some people that are searching are looking for step-by-step instruction.
They're looking for the straight up instructions. Yeah.
So it's better to have a person who's just gone through that, who's created like a formula for people to follow steps rather than to like learn principles about something. Whereas if you're more entertainment, I lean into principles. That's why I say I lean into stories, I lean into concepts, and we explore them together, right? And that's kind of the niche I'm living in. I do have videos that's kind of like how to do something, but I do that a lot less because partly is I don't want to compete with everybody, and I feel like I'm more interested in principle and ideation, right?
And I feel like they're not as fun to make, like those like super how-to videos. Like they're just not enjoyable, really.
They feel like a mountain to climb, dude.
They feel like a drag. Like as soon as you start doing it, you're like, why would I do this?
Yeah, like I just did a video called 20 Rules of Cinematic Filmmaking.
Oh yeah. I was watching the beginning of it. Yeah.
I walked it took me an hour to record, and then when I edited it was 48 minutes.
I saw that. I was like, that took him so long. I bet
it took me it took me probably a total of, and it's literally just me sitting there walking through a PowerPoint. It took me from start to finish probably about 5 hours of work.
Okay.
That's a lot of time to spend on one video.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Recording, and that's like including the editing too as well.
Yeah. But the editing was super basic because I just,
I
record with a side by side, and I'm literally cutting out the fluff, and I'm just doing hard cuts because I put out stuff faster. Like I said, I'm kind of leaning into more news. So although I do extensive editing and have for a long time, for my YouTube content, I keep it super basic and just cut out fluff. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to do that too. Like, because I'm really teeter-tottering right now where I've made a couple videos that took a little longer, and I'm like, I don't want to do that every time. So I'm like trying to figure out like what is enough, like what is like a simple, like a good enough video where it doesn't take me like 10 hours to make it, and it's more like 2 hours, and it's like pretty good video. So
like
that out.
If you look at the people you enjoy watching the most on YouTube, like
pretty simple stuff.
What do
it
they
looks
do?
like?
You know,
it seems pretty simple. Like some of them, like a lot of them are just talking, like they're just yapping in front of the camera, and I'm like, this is good. But then you got people like, Peter McKinnon. Well, he has like an editor, so it's different. But then there's like people like Life of RZA. Have you seen her?
I've heard of her. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, it's like a straight up movie. Like every YouTube video, I'm just like, this is just ridiculous. Like she's doing like day in the life or something, and it's like a full scripted like narrative short film basically of her making toast or something. I'm like, this is just too much, man.
Does she have a lot of videos? Like how long has she been around?
I would check her out. Yeah, like she she's like killing it. But it's just like so much work. Like it seems like she has like a full production crew, like
She
just with
might.
her. She
She might.
might. Like that's the thing with YouTube. You don't know what's like
Yeah.
going on under the hood.
I think this is so. I think it's relatively safe to assume that if people get anywhere from 10 to 200,000 views on average, right?
Mm-hmm.
They
Probably an
probably have
editor.
help. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
It is rare. Now, it is rare for people to be getting thousands and thousands of views on average for every video and to not
Yeah,
get help, right?
it is.
Um,
Yeah,
because in theory, you're kind of earning money and you can either say, I'm going to pay myself a smaller salary and
for
help
sure.
and get part-time help or whatever. There's a lot of options there. But as far as like, this actually brings up an interesting thought that I'm curious because getting started, I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming you're having like a lot of just meditations, right? And when I say
Yeah.
getting started, I'm talking about just getting a new channel going, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to filmmaking, do you think that in 2025, filmmaking on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
or even just filmmakers spending time on YouTube is still worth it? Because it seems
I think it is.
all right. I want to hear your thoughts about that. Like, what
Okay.
about it specifically? Do you think it's valuable? Right?
I think it absolutely is because a lot of a lot of the film industry, because of social media and stuff, is really shifting. Like big brands are no longer being like, well, they still are, but paying you like $1 million to make them a 30-second commercial or something, and they're more realizing they can have like influencers or people like personal brands like just make like a video that gets a lot of views and it's way more valuable to them. So I think there's less and less big productions going on like already, and there's just a lot more like social media, like YouTube stuff, and there's just so much, like especially as a filmmaker, there's so much like work and money and like just everything to be made by being online now, opposed to the grandpa like old, like we're just working on a film set, I'm a grip and that's it. And like you have to be just more diverse nowadays and wear more hats to be successful, I think. And I think YouTube is a fantastic way to show your skills and like actually be seen. Because usually it's like there's like a middleman also, like you're having to message some guy at a company and hope that he gets you in touch with the client to make a video or whatever. But when you're doing like YouTube or social media, like the clients are just coming directly to you and there's like no middleman. And yeah, it's just super valuable, I think. And yeah,
I mean, coming at it from a traditional filmmaking like narrative feature approach as well, I kind of feel like it's not just like all the traditional ways are dying. It's just they're changing. Yeah. And are they changing too much for the old model to even survive, right? Because there's a lot of
that's what I'm worried about.
There's a lot of stuff about the old models of filmmaking that seems like it's still super valuable, but can it survive? And even in marketing, right? Like marketing is fundamentally different than how they would get people to watch a movie in 1998, you know?
Absolutely.
Or even in 2013. Like, it's so different than
like
how
Nosferatu, just all over Instagram, just reels all day.
And so filmmakers, and this is also like a theory I have, I think actors are still important, but there's only a couple of them. Like, I think filmmakers, the people who are doing the work and have the vision and are telling their story, are gaining an interest. So I kind of notice in people that I talk to that more and more people know the names of directors than
me too.
they ever have before. You know what I mean? And a big part of that is because people are interested in what Denis Villeneuve has to say when it comes to film because they really like his Dune movies, or they really like Blade
Yeah,
Runner, or they really like Prisoners, right? People really care about when Chris Nolan's next film is coming out.
for sure.
And I think this is a part of what YouTube is causing, is people care about the creators.
They
Whereas
really
for
are, like, way more.
The history of film has been people care about actors. And I just feel like it's shifting in a big way with YouTube. And so YouTube is kind of necessity for creators to build their influence. I mean, what do you think about all that?
Oh, I 100% agree. Yeah, I think it's definitely necessary to build their influence. Like, without like some sort of online presence, I just don't know if you'll like ever get known, because everything's like
Right.
shifting to it like so hard.
I know.
It's so tough.
And it's daunting because there's so much competition. But
There is.
on some level, there's still the element of get to know people, put your head down, and do your thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's still the most important.
There's always been an element of like, get to know some people and then do your creative project with those people, like in Hollywood or in video production in general, like with creative work. And I think there's still the element of that. The difference is people get to know each other online now, right?
True.
People can build their acquaintances and their colleagues from an online audience. And I think over the next maybe 10 years, I think the primary way for filmmakers to find each other is on YouTube and other socials as well.
It might be.
But like, how do you know if a person's like worth their salt? Like, do you want to collaborate with this person? What does their long form content look like? You know
you got to see it. Yeah, like Instagram has been actually my main way of kind of networking, meeting other filmmakers.
Right.
And but what's crazy though is like all the actual work that I've gotten and that I've made like a good living from has all been in person, meeting people, which is it's like you can meet more people online, but it's like those connections just aren't as strong, it seems.
Yeah. It's there's something to like, so if you open a Patreon, and you build an audience, something like on average 1 to 2% of your average viewing audience will join a Patreon. So that means you could have 200,000 regular viewers on YouTube that show up for almost every video you put out, but you may only have 150 people who's willing to pay you $3 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
For extra content, you know?
Yeah, they want the free content.
Exactly. And you can't really, I mean, that's the market we live in. I feel like on some level that's always been the market, but it's just different because there's so much competition.
For sure.
And I don't know, I just kind of feel like what you said earlier was valuable. Filmmakers, like, there's just not really a way to survive without it. I mean,
yeah, I don't think so. Because if I didn't post on social media and stuff, like it never would have led to those in-person connections.
And there's also an element of, even if you do meet someone in person, what's your digital resume?
Yeah, they got to see it. They're not just going to trust you.
People aren't going to open up an email you send them that has your Vimeo link to your reel anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's going to become less and less common to do that. They want to see, they want to sample you. You know what I mean? And filmmakers and creatives have to understand that. Like, people, if someone wants to work with you, like say, hey, I want to hire this freelancer to be my DP for this big Capital One credit card commercial. You know what I mean?
For sure.
How do I know this guy can pull it off? I heard, like, I've had a conversation with him. I met him in person through a mutual friend, and he's available. But how do I know? You know?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to become more common.
People just don't trust you until like you've done it for them. Like one of the main guys that I work with, that's a cinematographer. he saw me on Instagram, but he didn't really trust me yet even though he's seen that I was like capable of doing it online. He had to like have me edit one of his projects or something to like see me do it for real before he could trust me and be like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some work, you know?
Yeah.
So
what has been the biggest for you in 2024? You made the shift to going all in on your freelance business, right?
Yeah.
What was that process like? Like what was the difficulties? What were the things you came to realize in that shift? Like what happened there, right?
Yeah, it's just tough transition because I was working and then freelancing on the side. So you're basically like 80 hours a week because you're editing and stuff. But really, so it was just a few connections, really. Like we said, it was just like meeting some people and then doing a little work for them, you know, showing them that you can do it. And they're like, oh, we can use this guy. And it was really like 3 people or like that trusted me.
Yeah.
And then I started just getting a lot of work while I was at my full-time job. And I was like, okay, like this is getting a little ridiculous. Like I never have time to chill. And then the college I was working with, the previous year, they didn't really give me a lot of work, but I did a few videos for them and they saw that I was like killing it. And they were like, oh man. So then the next year they came around, they had like all this money for like video budget. And then they just did this big grant and I was like, oh yeah, no, I got to quit now. Like that was pretty much it. It was like this big grant and I was like, oh yeah, like we're out of here. And then my other buddy that I met, the other connection, the cinematographer guy, he was just throwing me work like left and right. Cause I did this like soccer commercial edit for him and he was just like throwing me stuff like constantly. And it was just like, and then one other person, and it was just like so much that I like just
your
like,
side
okay,
hustle became as much or more than your full-time job, essentially.
Yeah, it became more. And I was like, okay. Like at first I was like questioning it and I was like, I don't know. But then it eventually like got there and then more. And I was like, okay, yeah. So we're going to go for this. But you know, even then it's scary because you're like, it could just dry up after this year. So like for this year now, I'm like, okay, what we doing? And I'm figuring it out still.
Yeah.
So
well, I think it's your position. So you're 26, right?
Yeah.
You're not married.
Nope.
No kids.
That was a big part of it because I was able to come home and grind like every day. And I had nothing else. I was just like, we're editing tonight.
Positioned in the time of life to do that, you know?
Yep.
Because at a certain point, it'll change, right?
Yeah.
It'll change at a certain point. And so it seems like you're doing everything right. Definitely.
I'm trying to.
I am surprised that you got the bug when you were 19 or 20, you said, in college.
Yeah. Just documentary got me.
I'm surprised because almost every filmmaker that I talk to is like, I watched a movie when I was 9 and I knew.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I wouldn't say that's too different from my story, but what do you think? Was it just because like films didn't interest you and then you realize there's a lot more to video production than just movie making?
Yeah, like, so I always liked films. Like The Dark Knight is my favorite movie. And Christopher Nolan is like the man, like just like loved all those Batman movies. And that really like hyped me up. But I wasn't like really like, I want to make movies until, or anything like that until I like did video production. And I've like always been a creative person and I like drawing and all like stuff like that. And then this was kind of just like another medium where I was like, I can just create stuff. And that's really what interests me, I guess. But I wasn't like super like, I want to do movies. It was just like, I just want to make cool videos, really.
Is it just cool videos? Do you use Adobe?
I use both of them, DaVinci and Premiere.
Oh, so you're in DaVinci. What do you think about it?
I love DaVinci. I like it more than Premiere. But there's just, Premiere has the edge in like a few things. Like I want to make some videos about this because I edit a lot of commercials, and I like DaVinci. Like I've been using it for like 3 years now, and it just runs smoother. The color grading is amazing. Like it just kills it. But like when you have a big project and you need to edit as fast as possible, I found that Premiere is faster because of like one feature that you can do.
What would you say someone, you know, if another filmmaker's been like, hey, doesn't really matter what I just like working with cameras. I like editing. I like lighting. I like production. And maybe I'm working for somebody, but I don't feel like I really have a good resume. It's not very strong yet. How would you recommend someone to approach YouTube, right? Just say like, hey, you want to build your resume. You want to get your feet wet. You want to have projects that you're constantly working on so that you don't have to be told by an employer or someone that's hiring you for contract work to tell you what to do to practice, but just giving yourself work to practice. How would you say they should approach YouTube? I ask you this because it's kind of, I'm sure, fresh in your mind, right?
Yeah. I would say if you could get a camera, that'll be like the first step. But a lot of people can't afford a camera, so just use your iPhone if you can't buy a camera. But buying a camera what it'll do is like help you, learn how the camera works, and it'll also kind of inspire you, because there's something about buying a new camera that you're like, you just want to shoot stuff with. And if you have your iPhone, you may not want to shoot. You'll be like, it's my iPhone, who cares? But if you do buy a camera, you'll be inspired, like, oh, I got to use this new camera. So that'll make you like want to go do stuff. And then I would just practice as much as I could. And whatever you want to make, just make it and just learn. And then post it on YouTube and like just try stuff out and just keep doing reps. And what was the question again?
that was it. I'm trying to hear, like, a part of it is because I've been so in a specific lane of YouTube when it comes to filmmaking for a while. Yeah. So I'm curious to hear how other filmmakers, how other production individuals, when they are getting on YouTube or when they started their YouTube channel, like what was going through their head at the beginning that got them to see it for the investment it is, right? Because sometimes I feel like it's difficult. It's difficult to get over the initial speed bump of cringe or not wanting, feeling motivated to create content for you. And typically there's not a ton of people in your life that are supporting that kind of creation. They want you to make money and all kinds of different stuff, and it's a long investment. So I'm really just curious about, like, what is the thing that gets people going, right? Gets a filmmaker going to invest in themselves through platforms like YouTube with long form.
Got you. Okay.
What motivates you?
I'm thinking of like so you're saying like specifically like for YouTube, and You're not meaning like to make a portfolio piece to like get more, I guess, freelance work, or are you meaning?
I'm talking about YouTube specifically, because YouTube specifically brings there's a lot of different perspectives that YouTube could possibly offer someone, right? Yeah. In film. What was it for you that got you to get the ball rolling on a YouTube channel, right? As someone who's been in filmmaking, who's worked, who's earned money, and then say, hey, I'm going to spend a lot of time doing this thing for free because I think it's worth it for my future self. And why, like, what exactly was going through your head that caused that motivation?
I thought it was a good investment, really, for connections, for one, to just like put yourself out there. So other filmmakers, because filmmaking space is all about who you know and connections. So as a filmmaker, it's like super good to do YouTube, because when you're just cold calling clients or whatever, not going to work very well. But if you have a YouTube channel that you make, and maybe you want to make movies or something as like your goal, if you get known on YouTube, the progress is going to be so much quicker. Like if you grow a YouTube channel, like people are going to find out who you are and get to know you and be, more willing to be like, yeah, let's make a movie like with you. Like you're cool because I've seen you on YouTube, and it's like a really good investment for, just getting yourself out there. And then, shoot, what else was I going to say? You get a lot of practice making videos, and you'll figure out what you like doing. And what else?
I think it's interesting to see, like, do you know Mr. Beast, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the Beast Game show he's coming out with on Amazon Prime?
I did. I saw like the trailer for it, a little bit of it. Yeah.
So it first off, it's wild. But the thing that stuck out to me is Mr. Beast is not a filmmaker. He's a YouTuber.
No. Yeah.
However,
he tells stories though.
He tells stories, but also he got a huge budget contract to create a show for a film company, Amazon Prime Video, for a film entertainment company to do a 10-episode series where he has complete creative control.
It's awesome.
That's like the dream for a filmmaker.
It's the power of YouTube.
He did it off the power of YouTube, man. That's really, someone who's not a filmmaker got a film deal from YouTube. You know what I mean?
That is crazy.
Obviously, we can't all be Mr. Beast. We're not all going to get 300 million subscribers and hundreds of millions of views on every video we put out. But that goes to show the level of influence that successful run of content through an audience that you've built up and has buy-in can have for you as a creative, both financially and in your creative expression, right?
Yes.
Whether it's music videos, whether it's client videos, whether it's films, whether it's short films, whether it's talking head videos, like there's power in YouTube for some reason. And I think it's just, it's just the power of numbers, man. I think it's just because it's where people are at, right?
Yeah, I think uploading to YouTube is like one of the best places that your work could go. Because I mean, where else are you going to post it? It's like you give it to a client, it's gone. It's like on a website, no one's going to see it. Like YouTube is like the best place. Like if you have like a film or just any work that you want people to see, it's like that's like one of the probably the best place to put it, to be honest.
Weeks ago, like right before Christmas, I talked to a couple guys, Noah and Yuli, right?
Oh yeah.
They have like it's not their first film, but it's kind of like their first like.
I watched like
we're gonna try
some of that video, like you said. They had like made some short film, or
they made a short film called Timepiece.
I haven't seen it, but I was listening to you talk about it.
Yeah, they're in the UK. They're young guys. They're 19, right?
Wow.
Their video. I'm curious. I haven't looked at it recently. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube real quick. Let's see. Timepiece short film. This is like their first like attempt at a movie or at a short film. It's only 8 minutes long, 8 minutes and 41 seconds. It already has 722,000 views on it.
Wow.
I've made 6 films, 6 short films.
That's crazy.
And I have not broken 2,000 views on those things. So to see like a beginning film, a beginning short film where they worked hard on it, but it was kind of just them two and the actors,
Yeah.
And they made it and they took their time and put it together, and they didn't have a whole lot of thought. They're like, this is a great practice short film. They throw it up on YouTube, and for some reason it gets enough attention to earn 722,000 views, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Their YouTube channel is bigger than mine, where I was bigger than them a few weeks ago when I had an interview with them.
That one short film just launched
one short film launched him, man.
I actually, I DP'd a short film that's on YouTube.
Did you? What's it called?
Yeah. It's called Sound Asleep, but I think the channel's called Glass Eye Productions. But it's a horror film, horror short film.
Let's see.
But my buddy edited it that I worked with, and I DP'd it and colored it and stuff.
Let's see. It's called Glass Eye Productions. Got 4,500.
There you go. That's more views than I would have thought.
Very good. So you have been, you have been doing films.
I have.
You have been doing films.
I forgot about that one because I didn't really edit it. So I just shot it and was like, I didn't hear about it for like a year.
Yeah. I'll take a look at it, man. I'll take a look at it. And
yeah, it's a cool one.
I love films, man. I really do.
Yeah, you'll like that one.
Shot this one. And I love indie. I have a friend, his name's Dustin. He did a really ambitious horror film with like a ton of animation in it and stuff for a monster, and it was super cool. It took him forever to put out, but he was super into horror films. And I've made a thriller film, never done a horror film like seriously, and
it's a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I know how much fun it is, and I think there's a level of me that's like, I don't want to have too much fun. I want to try something ambitious.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Horror is kind of like the easy indie option because there's so many tricks to doing something and it coming off as good. Whereas if you set two characters down next to each other and have them have a conversation, it's like, hey, did you do a good job writing that script? Because
I'm running into that right now.
Two actors having a conversation is a lot harder than making a chasing scene from a monster. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely, man. Like I'm editing a short film right now. It's a thriller called Deadline. And
bruh, you've been working on short films nonstop in the back.
I know. Someone who says I'm not into movies, I do a lot of it, films, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Deadline, and it's like a murder mystery, or not murder mystery, but it's like a thriller, and there's like a murderer guy, and it's pretty crazy. And I'm learning that editing a short film is really hard with like different performances with actors and like just like the pacing of it and continuity. Like some dude will be adjusting his tie, and then you're like, the next cut, like he's not or something. And just stuff like that is so much harder than I thought. I was like, God.
Yeah, that's why they have a lot of takes, and they have they made sure they shot coverage, you know. I think that's about all we have time for tonight, man. I don't want to keep you any longer.
All right.
Give us the name of your YouTube channel and any other stuff you'd like to plug.
All right. Yeah. My YouTube channel is Culmination Media, and there's no E in Cole. And what else? Yeah, you can check out Sound Asleep. It's on YouTube, Glass Eye Productions. What else do I want to plug? Yeah, you can check out my Instagram. It's also Culmination. It's Culmination_media. And I do a lot of videos on Instagram, and probably most of my stuff that I'm actually working on, you'll see it on Instagram. So if you want to keep up with me, that's the best way.
I appreciate it, dude. Thank you for talking.
Yeah, man. Nice talking to you.
And I'll look forward to when you come to Atlanta, man. When you move up.
Yeah, man. Have to link up.
Try to link
up. Get a beer or something.
Yeah, get a beer or do a project together or something.
Or that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, man.
Talk to you later, man.